Okay, picture this. You're in a parking garage, late at night, maybe weekends, empty. You hear this high-pitched electric whine echoing off the concrete.
Yeah, that sound. It's unmistakable.
Right. And then you see it, this blur, an RC car, just screaming down a ramp. That's the scene. We're calling it the Concrete Coliseum.
It fits. It really does.
So for this deep dive, we're getting into why these, well, kind of boring everyday structures, these parking garages, have become these perfect, unique racetracks for RC folks.
Yeah, it's this amazing mix of the building itself, the sort of practical side of things, the logistics, and this really cool grassroots culture that sprang up.
Okay, let's unpack this. What really jumps out first is how the place itself, the structure, totally dictates what gear you use, how you race.
Exactly. It's not like your typical purpose-built outdoor track at all. The garage, it gives you constraints, sure, but also this huge amount of usable space.
So the architecture piece, let's start there. The floor,
Right.
right? You think concrete, maybe asphalt, kind of basic.
Right, but it's smooth, vast expanses of it. And that's key because it actually protects the cars.
Protects them how?
Well, think about those low-slung touring cars. Very little ground clearance. Outside, in a dusty lot. Grit. Tiny pebbles, they just get sucked into the drivetrain, the gears.
Disaster.
Right, tears them up. Exactly. But the garage floor, much cleaner. It preserves that expensive, finely tuned equipment.
And it's not all the same surface either, is it?
No, that's another layer. You might get super smooth, almost polished concrete in some spots, perfect for drifting where you want less grip, all about throttle control.
Okay, like ice almost.
Kinda. And then other areas, maybe the ramps or upper levels, might be rougher asphalt. That gives you the high grip you need for traditional touring car racing. So the surface itself offers variety.
But the real game changer seems to be the levels, the up and down.
Oh, absolutely. The multi-level design brings gravity into play in a huge way. It completely shifts the focus.
How so? Less about just raw power.
Yeah, much less about just having the fastest motor. It becomes about managing momentum, braking precisely. Think of it like a tiny indoor mountain rally stage.
Huh. Okay, I see that. So you're coming down a ramp.
Right. Come in too fast, you totally blow the corner on the next level down, you'll overshoot, but brake too early or too hard.
You lose all your speed. Need that momentum for the next turn.
Precisely. You have to calculate that entry speed, that braking point, almost perfectly. It's incredibly technical.
So wait, are people running actual rally-style RC cars then? With the higher clearance, or are they adapting?
Mostly adapting, actually. You see a lot of the low-clearance touring cars being pushed to their limits, but the structure kind of invites creativity with all types of cars.
Like how?
Well, those same ramps. For an off-road buggy or monster truck, that's not a corner entry challenge, it's a launch ramp.
Ah, right. For getting big air jump.
Exactly. And then you have the pillars, those massive concrete support columns everywhere.
Yeah, the ultimate immovable object.
For sure. But instead of just being hazards to avoid, they get repurposed. For touring cars, weaving between them creates these super high-speed chicanes.
Okay, tests agility.
And for the drifters, they become perfect pivot points. You swing the car around the pillar in this controlled, kind of beautiful slide. It's ingenuity born from rigidity, really.
Okay, so the building itself is like perfectly imperfect, but what about just the practical side? Finding a place to run, dealing with weather?
That's the other massive piece, the logistics. The garage is like this weekend sanctuary.
Weekend sanctuary, I like that. Why?
Predictability. Think corporate garages, university garages, empty on weekends, evenings, reliable space in cities where finding open areas is tough.
And crucially, it's indoors.
Huge, absolutely huge. This RC gear, especially competitive stuff, can easily cost over $1,000, right?
And not cheap.
Outdoors, you're constantly worried. Rain fries electronics, direct sun can overheat things, wind messes with handling, the garage, none of that.
Total protection. So it makes the hobby more accessible, more sustainable year-round. You don't lose race days to bad weather.
Exactly. It lowers the running costs and the risk to your investment. But there's another kind of risk.
The pillars again?
The pillars, the walls, the curbs. This is where we get into what some sources call the inevitable carnage.
Sounds dramatic.
Kind of is. Because those things are not forgiving. One tiny mistake, a moment's lapse of focus at high speed.
And you hit solid concrete. Bang!
Yep. Bent drive shafts, cracked chassis, snapped suspension arms. Catastrophic damage is always, like, right there.
That's fascinating. Does that Does that frustrate people? Like, does the community complain that the venue itself is too destructive, that it stops them using the really high-end, fragile pro gear?
You'd think so, maybe.
Yeah.
But what the sources suggest is actually the opposite, that constant high risk of breakage acts as a filter.
How do you mean?
It favors cars that are tough, affordable, and easy to fix. Think something like the Tamiya TT02 chassis. It's known for being durable and having tons of cheap spare parts.
Okay, so why risk a super expensive, brittle carbon fiber race machine when you know a pillar strike is basically inevitable at some point?
Exactly. It shifts the focus. The
Yeah.
culture values resilience, being able to patch your car up and get back out there, your tinkering skills. Maybe more than just having the biggest budget for the fastest possible car.
So that toughness, that resilience needed for the cars, it bleeds into the vibe of the community.
It really seems to. You've got this high-risk environment, physically speaking, but it fosters this really low-pressure, welcoming social scene.
How so?
Well, the sources describe it as really beginner-friendly, family-friendly. It's built on friendly rivalries. The stakes usually aren't high-dollar prizes. It's bragging rights, maybe a funny trophy.
Like that source that mentioned a bowling trophy.
Yeah, exactly like that. It becomes less about cutthroat competition and more about, sharing knowledge, helping each other fix broken parts, just enjoying the hobby together. It's a social club that happens to race.
It's amazing, really. Taking this totally mundane piece of city infrastructure, something designed just for storing cars.
And turning it into this dynamic, exciting social space.
Mm.
It really shows the ingenuity of the RC community, finding opportunity where most people just see concrete.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? It's more than just toy cars in a garage, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, the whole phenomena is this fantastic example of urban adaptation. Finding play, finding community in these overlooked spaces.
Reimagining the cityscape.
Right. And that actually brings up a bigger thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. Think about how our cities are changing. Remote work is more common. Online shopping means maybe less need for huge retail centers.
Okay, so lots of commercial property, maybe even parking structures are becoming underutilized.
Exactly. There's this potential vacuum forming. And here you have the RC community organically flowing into these spaces, finding this incredibly creative, active use for structures designed just for static storage.
Hmm.
So the question is, are these RC racers accidentally showing us a potential future? A way to repurpose these vast, potentially empty urban spaces? Are they pioneers for the next best use of all this concrete?